We're now recording.
I'd like to call the April 16th, 2025 board meeting to order. I'll ask that each commissioner please respond with a here when I call out their name. Commissioner Doan, Commissioner Duggan,
Here.
Commissioner Lysick,
Here.
Commissioner Sanders.
Here.
I will now close the regular session and the board will convene an executive session. Will the district recorder please read the executive session script?
Certainly. An executive session of the board is called under ORS 192.6602E to conduct deliberations to negotiate real property transactions, 192.6602H to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed, and 192.6602F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. Okay, we are back in action.
I will now reconvene our regular board meeting. Next, we have a proclamation in honor of Greg Hopkins, who has recently passed. Tualatin Valley Water District Board of Commissioners and staff wish to acknowledge the passing and to honor Craig Hopkins for his decades of dedicated service to the Tualatin Valley Water District as a budget committee member since the district's inception in 1991. Next, we will have reports by the CEO and management staff.
Good evening, President Fisher and Commissioners. Short report tonight. I can get the slide to work. I want to give you a report on my trip back to Washington, D.C. to attend the AMWA, the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies Water Policy Conference. It was a long trip in terms of time on airplanes, et cetera, but it was a fruitful one. The Water Policy Conference was combined with the EWWA fly-in, as well as that from NACWA, WEF, and the Water Research Foundation. So there were quite a few people that convened on Washington, D.C. To discuss water issues and water policy with our elected officials. I started off with the meeting with Senator Wyden's staff, where we presented our legislative strategies, the things that we've talked about in the past based on the strategy that the board adopted. Later, I actually attended an EPA WIFIA roundtable. This was an opportunity for WIFIA borrowers actually to brief one of the nominees to serve at the Office of Water for the EPA. So this is a political appointee. She was interested in learning more about the WIFIA program, and so TVWD, along with 6 other utilities, gave a briefing to her. It was actually interesting to hear what some of the other utilities had done. It was a good discussion and an opportunity to further learn more and grow closer to the WIFIA program. We then met with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to discuss the Willamette River reallocation. This is a process that was formally adopted in the 2020 Water Resource Development Act that was passed back in 2020. This is to make some of the storage on the Willamette River dams that are operated by the Army Corps of Engineers available for municipal industrial use. The issue that we have right now is the water rights are being held by the Bureau of Reclamation, and there's a challenge, I guess, to say how those water rights can be transferred so they can be made available. So this would provide storage rights on those rivers. This is important for us because it would really solidify our water rights and it would be a hedge against climate change as we move to the Willamette River for our new water supply. Subsequent to that, I met with Representative Salinas and a very gracious meeting with her. She gave us time and a very interesting conversation. She's very interested in what we're doing. She had an opportunity to come out and visit the treatment plant when Commissioner Sanders helped MC that event, and she recalls that with great fondness. Then we met with Senator Merkley's staff and with Representative Bonamici. So it was an interesting visit to Washington, D.C. There were no outrageous public demonstrations of any kind. I want to give you a rundown. We've got a lot going on for you in the near future here. First, this April 18th, we're going to have the meeting of the Barney Reservoir Joint Ownership Commission, as well as the Joint Water Commission. That'll start at 1 p.m. And I believe our 3 commissioners, we'll have to check in with Commissioner Doan to see if he still plans to attend. This is an important meeting because the JWC does need to have a quorum in order to pass the upcoming budget. So hopefully that we'll have a representative from each one of the member agencies and a few extras to reach that quorum requirement. And then on April 28th, we have the Willamette Intake Facilities Commission meeting, followed on the 29th with the Lamp River Water Coalition meeting. This was one that had to be rescheduled because we didn't have a quorum last time. In fact, I think the only voting member we had after somebody had to leave for a family emergency was our very own Commissioner Sanders. So hopefully we'll get a quorum and be able to conduct the meeting. And it's important, again, this is where the annual work plan and budget will be adopted by the WRWC. And then finally, on the April 30th, we'll have the Budget Committee Workshop 2, which we're going to be gathering you all together. So you have quite a workload here coming up in the month of April. As you know, we have some vacancies on our Budget Committee. We actually have 2 vacancies. We learned that Marilyn McWilliams actually had relocated outside the district, and we expect a 3rd vacancy because Budget Committee Palaradsky has decided not to participate in the upcoming budget cycle. So as his term ends, he's asked to be to leave the Budget Committee. So our Budget Officer has recommended proceeding with 8 Budget Committee members for the current cycle and having an open recruitment process sometime in 2026. With everything we have going on, we'd rather do that in a deliberate process. We need 6 people to attend to have a quorum, and we need 6 affirmative votes for the budget to be approved by the Budget Committee. Any questions or concerns? Or Justin, do you want to add anything to this? We're good? Okay. And then the last item is I'm going to be taking the 21st off. I think I'll be recovering from my birthday. I was talking actually, Commissioner Lysak. Your birthday's on the 19th? 18th. Commissioner Lysak's birthday's on the 18th, as is my sister's. Mine's on the 20th. It's Easter. I'm going to take the 21st off. Pete Boone will be AIC, acting in capacity for the CEO. And then on May 7th through the 11th, I'll be attending the Pacific Northwest Section of AWWA conference, and Justin Carlton has agreed to be the AIC for the CEO. With that, I will turn it over to Kylie Bayer, who's going to be presenting tonight's director's report. Kylie, take it away.
So tonight I'm going to be going over some recent executive orders and how those implicate things in the workplace. There are HR policy considerations that come from that, as well as our ability to maintain federal grant funding or receive those funds in the future. So it's going to be an exciting topic. So this is important for a variety of reasons. One of those is that these federal executive orders can help shape workplace policies, even if they're not specifically directed at us as an employer. But oftentimes what happens at the federal level ends up rolling into more of a local level. So we want to be aware of what's going on there. Compliance with executive orders is really important for our continued access to federal funding. So we want to be in compliance. And that can be at odds or having some tension like with our values. So that might be a challenge. And then the recent executive orders change expectations around DEI in the workplace. So it's an important topic, and it's one that we're watching closely and seems to change by the minute sometimes. So there's 3 major executive orders I want to go over tonight. The top 2 on this list have a lot of similarities, but they're all kind of tied into DEI, equal employment opportunity, discrimination, all of those types of things. So we'll go over kind of the high points of each of those, and then talk a little bit about what we're doing here as an employer to respond to those. So the first executive order that I want to go over is the one titled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity. Right before this executive order came out, discrimination was illegal, so that hasn't changed. Some high points of this one is that it revokes some prior executive orders. The 2 that I've listed up there, the first one was to establish a coordinated federal government-wide initiative to promote DEI. The second one expanded equal employment opportunity protections. So those have been rescinded with this new executive order. It also mandates the termination of federal programs and policies that are deemed to involve any discriminatory practices. It emphasizes really strict merit-based practices, and then it requires federal contractors and grantees, those recipients of federal funding, to certify compliance. And we do that for federal grants now. There's always stipulations. You got to show that you're being in compliance with that. The second executive order is ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs. This is seen as a cost-cutting measure because the current administration sees these as, wasteful or not a good use of public funds. This orders the elimination of any DEI offices and programs in federal agencies and among federal contractors. Any of those chief diversity officer positions are going to be a no-go there. It also cancels out or directs federal employment practices to cancel out equity action plans, any DEI related grants, and any related trainings to that. I had one more thing I wanted to mention that. It also directs some federal employment practices like performance reviews, so that DEI can't be a part of that. An example of DEI going in a performance review could be, as a manager, are you upholding equitable practices with your team? That would no longer be something that could happen in a federal performance evaluation. Pretty light topic. And then defending women from gender ideology extremism. So this one limits the federal recognition of sex to a gender binary with male and female. It revoked some prior executive orders that expanded that. It ends the consideration of gender identity in employment practices. And it might impact any transgender inclusive policies in hiring or access to facilities, things like that. That might have more of an impact in employers, just because it could impact those who have a broad definition of gender. And this one really ties into TVWD because we have to fill out federal forms when we hire people. So the Form I-9 is the form we all fill out when we were first hired anywhere in the United States. It demonstrates that you have the ability to legally work in this country. And that I-9 form has been changed now to use more of a gender binary terminology on that. Like I mentioned earlier, this has a big impact on federal grants, and we do go for those. We all have federal funding. We have loans through the federal government. So grant eligibility is now tied to a lot of adherence to some of these principles. So we want to be mindful of those and make sure that we're not running afoul of things and then jeopardizing our ability to get those funds. If entities are non-compliant, the federal agencies can withhold funding, delay funding, or completely cancel funding. Infrastructure projects that depend on this kind of funding are particularly vulnerable. And this also requires really clear documentation, and there may be audits to prove alignment with those executive orders or compliance with those grants or federal dollars. So what are we doing here? We're reviewing policies to make sure there's no major conflicts with executive orders. I have not found any thus far, so I think we're in the clear there. Modifying our DEI program as needed, and that is coming up as an initiative in the next budget cycle. So I anticipate we will come to the board asking for some policy direction on how to do all that. And then we also want to make sure here that our performance management and our recruitment efforts are aligned strictly with merit, and they always have been, at least in my understanding, they always have been. And I don't know of a single employer that would hire someone based on an identity characteristic who wasn't qualified for the position. So we do make sure that we look at merit for those types of things. And then just some considerations as we navigate this changing landscape is we want to be able to balance our commitment to equity and inclusion with compliance. So that's where that tension might come in. That might be difficult to do. We want to proactively prepare for any of these audits with good documentation. And then we just want to stay informed of evolving federal guidance. And we're doing that by staying engaged with professional associations, working with our lobbyists who have a lot of information about kind of what's coming down the line that we can expect. the HR Professional Association that I'm a member of and a few people on my team have a lot of webinars and trainings about these. So we're just trying to stay as informed as we can be. But it is changing all the time. So, any questions? Right. Next time I come back, I'll bring a lighter topic.
Thank you, Kylie. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm taking off the 21st and Pete's graciously volunteered to cover for me. But it's also Pete's birthday on the 20th. So special thanks for coming in the next day, Pete. With that, that concludes the Chief Executive Officer Management Staff Report.
Thank you. The commissioners will now report on meetings attended. Go with Commissioner Duggan.
Okay. On the 31st of March, I had a meeting with Paul Matthews for check-in and discussing updates. On the 3rd of April, the Willamette Water Supply System Board meeting and executive sessions were held, and I'm sure Mr. Kraska can keep us up to date on what all occurred at that meeting. On the 4th, I attended the Budget Committee tour, and I think staff did an excellent job in shepherding us to the various construction sites that we were able to visit that day. It was a very nice afternoon, and again, kudos to staff for putting that together. On the 8th of April, I attended the Washington County CPO number 1, where for the first time, TVWD of the service providers was able to go first, and Lindsay Walknick was able to give her report and did an excellent job and was able to get out of there at a decent time, not have to wait around for all the other service providers to go first. At that meeting, Metro or the county and THPD talked about the Metro transportation grants they were applying for, and then also THPRD, or excuse me, Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue gave a presentation on what happens when you call 911. Very, very interesting. It's an interesting presentation that's available on YouTube. On the 9th of April was the Regional Water Providers Consortium Executive Committee meeting where the consortium IG update was discussed. In particular, it's Portland being the designated manager of the consortium and providing staff. And they're making some positive changes, at least in my viewpoint, and seeing how the consortium has been run over the years, in that it's going to require now a year's notice for someone to leave the consortium, where previously an entity could leave within 3 months. And for budgeting and everything else, it makes a lot of sense to make it a whole year notice that you're going to leave the consortium. And then we also had a request for an entity, I believe it was Lake Grove, but I'm trying to remember. We have another provider that wants to join the consortium of the regional. And then at the executive committee, we also talked about officer elections that are going to take place in June. On the 10th, I attended the budget committee workshop. On the 15th, last night, I attended the Washington County CCI meeting. That's the Committee for Citizen Involvement, where we got an update on what's historically been known as the Washington County Museum, most recently known as the Five Oaks Museum. The county a county board is going to be reviewing it as part of a workshop and what's going to happen with their budget. Doesn't look good. Sounds like there's going to have to be a new nonprofit formed to be able to manage that museum. And the county is the owner of its collection and has an agreement with PCC on the use of the building. But something's got to be done, and our county board of commissioners is going to have to figure out what to do with the history there for our county. And then tonight's meeting. So that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Isaac.
I had the I attended the tour on the 4th, the workshop, the budget workshop #1 on the 10th. On the 14th, I had my monthly touch base with CEO Matthews and tonight's meeting.
Commissioner Sanders.
I'll say ditto to Commissioner Lysak's, the 3rd, agenda planning, the 10th, the budget committee, the 14th, the one-on-one with the CEO, and tonight's meeting. Ditto.
I'd say about the only differences on mine are I had my bi-monthly check-in with our CEO on the 25th of March and on the 15th of this month. And then I also met with a constituent on the 13th to discuss their bill and how to read it and other generic things. Me. Do we have any topics to be raised by commissioners? Seeing none, we will enter public comment. Public comment time is set aside for persons wishing to address the board on items on the consent agenda and matters not on the agenda. Additional public comment will be invited on an agenda item as they are presented. Do we have any persons who would like to comment?
Not seeing any this evening.
None online?
Correct.
Okay. Then we will move on to our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Any board members may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. Any items from the consent agenda for separate discussion will be considered immediately after the board has approved those items which do not require discussion. Looks like we have one item to approve the March 19th board minutes. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move into our business agenda and we'll start with a water supply integration update with Justin Dyke.
I'll be giving an update on our integration communications campaign, which is set to begin in a couple of weeks now, which is exciting news for us. As a quick overview and a reminder, our campaign is a collaborative strategy to build awareness and support for the Willamette water supply system. It's also in coordination with the Blue Ribbon Panel's recommendations for a robust regional outreach effort before, during, and after integration. And that prior, during, and after, I'll get into a little bit of what our campaign entails in each of those three phases today, and we'll dive into significantly more detail on the prior section of that. The campaign guides TVWD on how, when, and with whom communications should occur. But as all campaigns, I should note, adjustments can and will be made if and as needed. So we will be very attentive to our customers' reactions, their engagement patterns and habits, and what they are most appreciating and potentially least appreciating about the campaign, and make sure we're adjusting to meet their needs and make sure that the campaign is successful. And this is a multifaceted framework, not a prescription of tasks. So we have a lot of action items into the campaign. We've structured them in the way we believe to be most successful for the overall duration of the campaign. But there are a lot of things in here that we can move around and adjust as needed based on either progression at the treatment plant construction or our coordination with Pete Boone and his team on actually commissioning and startup operations and bringing that water into the district and so forth. At a higher level, the campaign is going to hit on a handful of key messages. The messages in the top half of what you see here in bold and burnt orange color are the 5 that polled highest in our surveys and focus group efforts. Those are messages based around the future of our region and our district, growth in our region in terms of population, climate-related weather pattern changes, earthquakes in our area, and the science of water treatment and trusting the water that our WWSS facility will deliver to customers. The 5 that were less popular in terms of engagement and customer feedback, but will be used during the campaign because they do play a good role, are messages around the resilience of our water system, trust our customers can have in us to deliver a high quality water to them, local ownership that the Willamette brings to us as an agency, the cost control measures of being an owner of the Willamette, and the asterisk on the last one, local controls, because it applies directly to TVWD, but not the other two partners in the Willamette, is the local control of operating and owning the facility compared to purchasing water wholesale as we have done in the past. Now, this slide is already out of date. Despite the wonderful picture of Commissioner Lysak, that's about the only accurate thing on the slide now. So I was going to ask you for feedback on either attending a separate meeting on either the 27th or the 29th to learn about the key message training. It's a condensed version of the message training that staff will receive. Training to the board will be about 45 minutes in duration, and your leadership team would be there definitely, but we're able to align schedules more effectively, and we will do this training during the June work session. So you will not be asked to come in for an extra evening. We will not ask our colleagues on the leadership team to spend an extra evening here, but we will perform this training for you at the June work session. It will be hosted by our consultants at Water System Consulting. They'll come in and show you a lot of what the key messages are in their full length, how to best use them when you're talking to your constituents, what the reasoning is for those key messages. We'll give a lot more detail on some of the campaign materials, and we'll give you a preview of a longer version of this same training that our staff will receive. So you'll receive your training on the 3rd. The day before, on the 2nd, staff will do a 3-hour version of this training with a lot of interactive steps so that our frontline staff from customer service, field customer service, and water quality are able to practice through how to have these conversations with customers so that if they're out, for example, reading a meter or taking a water quality sample, they are well equipped and confident in how they talk about integration and the Willamette with our customers. So with that, we'll get into a little bit more of the actual nuts and bolts of this campaign and what you and your constituents can expect to see in the coming months. So the campaign is broken into 2 phases, lovingly named Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 is outreach and support building. We have really interesting feedback from our surveys and our focus groups done about a year ago that our customers have a fairly low level recognition of the Willamette as an entity coming to the district. Construction is outside of our service territory by and large, and we've in the past really used other mechanisms to communicate about the Willamette, but it hasn't been front and center until now. So we will spend from about April, or I should say from April and May through about November, talking about the Willamette at a higher level. April, June, we'll be doing our final prep and we'll be beginning our A/B testing of our social media and soft launching of the campaign. I'll get into what all these details are in the next couple slides, but we'll just kind of talk about the launching. From July through September, the campaign really in Phase 1 hits its full steam, full digital and traditional advertising, collateral efforts, all in full effect. This is where you will see the peak of our Phase 1 of content, introducing the Willamette to our customers, talking about its benefits, showing our customer base a problem statement that the Willamette solves and where they can learn more to get more engaged and begin the process of our customers drilling down through content to understand what is the Willamette, why does it matter, when will it come online, and how does it affect me. Somewhere in the October-November range, we will begin that ramp down of Phase 1 content and begin incorporating Phase 2 content. The asterisk on this is because we will be working in coordination with both Dave Kraska's team and Pete Boone's teams to make sure that we are not making this transition too far ahead of schedule to lose the opportune moment to engage customers on really what is integration, what does it mean for your water service, what do you need to know and do about it. We want to make sure we find that moment in time before it happens, but not too far in advance, so customers are engaging with the content in a timely fashion when they may need to take action, do something like flush their home plumbing, pay attention to their email inbox a bit more to get specific dates from us on when they can expect integration in their area and so forth. So Phase 2 is that full content about integration. How does it affect you as a TVWD customer? Again, asterisks at the top because those start dates might move and shift a little bit based on when we fully expect commissioning and startup to be completed and that water to be ready to enter the district. So December, February, you're looking primarily at this Phase 2 content, more postcards, bill inserts, newsletter messages, and so forth, all about this water is going to be entering our water system. We're very excited about it. This is what you need to know. Increasing sense of urgency, despite the typo on the screen, an increasing sense of urgency, but we will be sending a lot more content about this to our customers. In March and April, we're getting into the integration is happening messages. Really, again, based on schedule from reality of what's going on in the field, that is when we'll have the immediacy of call to action to our customers, really driving them to engage with our content and contact us with their questions and making ourselves available to answer them, speak confidently about the process and about the water quality we expect to deliver. Calls to action, clear pathways for customers, making sure customers are never more than a click or two away from getting the information that they want or that we need them to know about integration. And then finishing the campaign in May or June of next year, long-term characteristics of water. Pete would probably call this system stabilization as all the water chemistries stabilize out and become more consistent for our customers. What can they expect in any changes to the aesthetic characteristics of their water, and celebrating the accomplishment. And now, as we go through these campaign stages, I will come back and meet with you or present this information more frequently and guide you through each of these kind of buckets in time. And I will now dive more deeply into the next few months, and you can anticipate I'll return in the future to keep going through phase one all the way through as we get into the actual details of what phase two looks like for our customers. So zooming in April through June. In April, we're doing our final campaign preparation. We're planning our staff and board trainings. We literally just did that now and yesterday. We'll be planning a crisis communications training for most of our leadership team and our other experts on water quality. Should we have any interested media that want to do any challenging interviews or so forth, making sure we have time to prepare and practice those skills. We're also working on our social media designs for the A/B testing. So just this week, my team and our project team looked through about 30 different designs for social media campaign that we can use in a test environment with the Meta platform. That is essentially a mix and match of captions, calls to actions, and titles in different graphics with things as small as a picture with an image and a caption at the top, caption to the right, maybe a caption down below, and running them through the algorithms in the Meta product that are all proprietary and seeing which have the highest engagement rate, which have the highest click-through rate, and which that are the most successful, which ones aren't successful. So that we're able to focus the considerable spend on the campaign on what is the most successful turnout in terms of engagement results online. We have 2 videos, a narrative video and a treatment process video. Those are completed and online already. They are hosted at tvwd.org/WWSS. That's a full new website experience all about the Willamette for our customers. Talks about what is the Willamette, what is the treatment processes, what does the integration process look like with an interactive map that we will be adding details from our GIS team so that customers in the moment can search their address. We test it quite often. We use the address here at the district. You can type in 1850 Southwest 170th, and it will tell you when the time comes what your expected integration date is so that you can remain engaged and fully aware as a customer. And in April, we will also start our regular organic social media posting, non-paid traditional social media content. Moving into May, this first bullet, now that we're going to do your training on June the 3rd, is also out of date, but we will have trainings. We will do an entire month of the A/B social media testing. So we will use those ballpark of 30 or so different campaign messages mixed or matched with images and graphic styles. We will run for a whole month on that test platform and determine which of the campaign assets are the ones we will proceed with. We will have organic social media posts. We will have the next edition of TVWD News with an article titled "A New Water Supply is Coming in 2026." And we will have the 6x9 postcard that's in front of you that will be mailed to all of our customers in the district. We'll also have an article, or I should say a page within our upcoming CCR, our Consumer Confidence Report, completely dedicated to the future water supply of the district and the Willamette. Moving into June, we aim to conduct a crisis communications training. We will have a full paid social media campaign initiating based on the results of the A/B testing. We'll continue our organic social media, and we do hope to hang banners at various sites. We have, for example, our Bethany Pump Station, which is neighboring a very, very popular pedestrian pathway owned by THPRD on the West Hills that sees a lot of foot traffic. So we have opportunities around the district with select sites to put banners up for high pedestrian traffic areas to inform customers as they're walking around. We'll be beginning our earned media, so pitching press releases and op-eds to local media outlets. Our community event season will be starting up in full swing. So we'll be at concerts in the park, farmers markets, a lot of THPRD events. We do have a staff member attending one even as early as this coming weekend at the Garden Home Rec Center. So all of these things are beginning as the weather turns. It's event season for us. and we'll be searching out community locations to leave materials. So we've already received requests from the libraries in the district to bring information about the Willamette water supply and integration and leave it there for their patronage. We'll have other materials that we can leave behind at other locations that are similar and offer similar things. We've done this in the past with other customer assistance programs to leave collateral pieces behind for people who are searching out information at respected places around the service area. So to zoom in a little bit on the postcard, I know you have it in front of you. I can assure you it is printed on the mediumest of quality printer in my office. It is a much higher quality piece of paper and higher quality print from a professional print shop. But I wanted to get it in front of you today so you can understand a little bit what this content looks like. It's a high level overview of what is the Willamette. It starts with a problem statement, positioning the Willamette as a solution, drives customers to learn more, directs them to the district's website. It's pretty simple, but that's the stage of this campaign we're at, introducing the Willamette to our customers, many of whom will be hearing about it for the first time. As well, in front of you, I've got a bifold brochure. This is created to take with us to our events, leave in our lobby. It's in mind for the type of person, if you're at a farmer's market and you've got a stack of stuff in your hands, you come by our booth and you're interested, give you something easy to carry and take away. It does have information on the steps to treatment, has a high-level overview system map, and a lot of our key messaging throughout it. One of the things our focus groups informed us of is that when people learn about the Willamette water supply, two of the things we can do to instill confidence in them very quickly and effectively is show that where the intake is located in Wilsonville and show a separation from other areas of the Willamette with a less glowing reputation of water quality. And as well, discuss the water quality and treatment steps in the treatment plant. So we've got the diagram on the kind of right inner side there. That is a diagram showing each step of the treatment process in the treatment plant, what its role is, and you can rest assured I did not have a whole lot of input on that. This is one of Dave Kraska's masterpieces. None of us are going to know this process better than him. But these are two things, location of the intake and the treatment steps processes that instill confidence in customers when it comes to introducing the Willamette as a water source to them. So we wanted to feature that when you open that bifold right there in front of you. And with that, like I said, I welcome any questions and feedback, but I will be continuing to come back at a more regular basis as the months continue on and then we're getting into this campaign and update you on exactly what materials and types of content pieces are going to be going out to your constituents before they go out. That way everyone here has an opportunity to preview things, ask questions, and really gain a familiarity and a comfort with the campaign materials themselves.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you, Commissioner Duggan.
The mailer looks great. The flyer with the map, fantastic. In fact, the only thing that I could suggest for improvement is adding Willamette Falls to the map, that is. But
Yep.
no, I think it's great. I'm very happy to see this, and I can't believe that we'll be actually making this happen in a year from now. So thank you for all that hard preparation work.
We share the sentiment, both excited and a little bit awestruck that all the planning has come to fruition now and it's go time. So we're excited and look forward to keeping you all updated as it progresses.
Well done.
Next up, we have a discussion about the Beaverton Intergovernmental Agreement with Pete Boone.
Thank you, Justin. I just want to say that our team is really excited and really appreciative of the work that Justin and his team is doing on communications. The customer experience with the Willamette source coming online is going to be really the culmination of so much work. And it's just really important that we get that right, that each of our customers gets through the integration process and has confidence in their water provider, and them being educated on everything that's gone into that is such a key part of that. So really important work. And it can be challenging to reach our customers, to get their attention. That's one of the the challenges, I guess, with being a very reliable water provider is customers don't have to interact with us. They pay their bill, we deliver their water, and it just works. Getting their attention on this stuff is a challenge, but Justin does a great job. Oh, so I want to talk to you about an intergovernmental agreement that we are proposing to have in place with our neighboring agency, the City of Beaverton. We have physical interties between our two water systems. They've existed for many years. And the city reached out to us and asked if they could use some of those interties during a period of time when a key sources of supply to their city is going to be offline. Three of these main interties that would be in use with this agreement are located around the system: 153rd and Jenkins over by the Nike campus, Center Street over by 217, and an important intertie up on Kemmer Road that actually goes both directions and can serve our system as well. So the city's joint water commission connection comes through what's called the South Transmission Line, comes down Tualatin Valley Highway, and that is going to be offline for a couple of weeks here, starting fairly soon in the month of April, continuing into May, so that they can perform a connection to that pipe. The city also has some aquifer storage and recovery wells. They've got a long, successful history of using these wells to supply their system, and they intend to do that. The challenge may be that demands might be increasing through the month of April and into May, and might exceed their capacity that they have in their ASR wells. So they might need some extra supply that would come from our system. We've done modeling and believe that we can provide up to 5 MGD through the aggregate of these interties, and we can do that at those different locations. You might recall we had a similar IGA a couple of years ago. There was another construction project that was close to a city pipeline, the same pipeline, and there was concern that if it was damaged during that work, that they might need to use these interties. Lucky for them and lucky for us, no damage occurred, so the agreement was never needed to put into effect. This proposed agreement would expire at the end of this calendar year, and as I mentioned, our system has benefited greatly from the Kemmer intertie, which came online a couple years ago up on Cooper Mountain. That connects both of the distribution systems at that 800-foot elevation at the top of Cooper Mountain. And we've used that a couple of times, and we really appreciate that partnership from the city while we've worked on our 189th pump station project. So with that, I'd ask the board if there are any questions that I can answer about this agreement. With that, our recommendation is that the board adopt resolution 10-25 authorizing CEO Paul Matthews to execute a short-term emergency water supply IGA with the city of Beaverton.
Okay, do I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 1025?
So moved.
Commissioner Duggan, second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much, and we will adjourn the meeting.